Hello, I'm Leslie Rhodes, principal of the James and Barbara Adams Elementary School. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us as we dedicate this beautiful building. Anytime you build a school for students, you want to name it after people who are devoted, who are committed, who are a support, and without a doubt, the Arlington Independent School District have chosen the right people in James and Barbara Adams. I'm going to try to stand here and not get emotional when I talk about James and Barbara Adams. I met them I started on June the 19th. I think I met them on the evening of June the 19th. It was on a Sunday. It was a couple of days after June the 19th, and I was here just taking in all of this wonderful building. And I had on my T-shirt and my jeans, and they walked in, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm dressed like this." She says, "Oh no, we dress like that." And so, and so, without a doubt, from that first day, I felt very comfortable with them. They have been a great support, and I'll talk about them a little bit later. What I want to do now is introduce some very important people. Just as you name a school, you also need people who are student-centered, who are about the entire community, and we have a school board that is focused on students. And so at this time, I would like to introduce our school board members. We have Bowie Hogg, President. Jamie Sullins, Vice President. Dr. Aaron Reich, Secretary. Gloria Pena, Assistant Secretary. Peter Barron, Board Member. John Hibbs, Board Member. And Tony Pompa, Board Member. Now that we've set the foundation for the Arlington Independent School District, we also have to have a leader from the day he started to choose a principal of the school who made it known his goals, his vision, and mission for the district. Without a doubt, it is our goal here at James and Barbara Adams Elementary School to follow behind Dr. Cavazos, Superintendent, and his senior staff. Today we have Dr. Wirtz. We have Dr. Halbrick, who's the area superintendent for James and Barbara Adams. We have Michelle Wimmuth-Sonato. We have Cindy Powell, Chief Financial Officer. We have Evan Smith, Chief Academic Officer. And we have Leslie Johnston, who is the Director of Communications. I also like to recognize any former board members that are here with us today. Former board members here with us today. Jim Ash. And Michael O'Donnell. And Ben Rhodes. Yes, Ben Rhodes. We also want to take the time to recognize any namesakes of current or schools in Arlington ISD. Any namesakes here with us today? Beth Anderson of Anderson Elementary School. Thank you for being here today. Thank you. And Alice, Jan and Rob. Ellis Elementary School. I should know Ellis. Yes, Ellis. I also want to take the time to recognize the assistant principal, Erica Bynum. I also want to take the time to recognize the teachers and staff of James and Barbara Adams Elementary School. Most are standing around that wall. I would like to take the time now to recognize the Buford Thompson Construction, With here we have today Scott Barnes, Project Manager. Sammy Martin, President. Sammy Martin. Joel Martin, Project Manager. Joe Miller, Superintendent. Jason Johnson, Superintendent. Before I go any further, I must say there were 3 guys that every time I needed something, I called and said, I see this, I need this. And that was Joel, Joe, and also Mr. Flores that I'll introduce in just a moment. So thank you for your support as we open the building. I also want to recognize the BLK architects, Sloan Harris. The Arlington ISD Plant Services Executive Director, Robert Carlisle. Richard Flores, Staff Architect and Owners Representative. Without a doubt, this could not happen with all the people that I just recognized, and so many more. Community members, parents, and also we had some students here that would come in and out the building and ask questions and give their ideas and thoughts of the school. So without a doubt, it took a family. Speaking of family, I like to recognize my family just by standing that are here, family of staff members. Thank you. Now at this time, we will have school board remarks by President Hogg.
Thank you, Ms. Rhodes. Always good to recognize your family. You're not going to see her much. She's going to be up here a lot, so we apologize for that. How great is this event today, huh? On behalf of the board, thank you all for coming in here today. Did anyone notice the lights aren't on in the cafeteria? That's energy consumption, because we designed it with the lights coming in. One of many things we designed in this school. We like to look at innovative turns. This is one of those innovative turns. It's a new step for East Arlington. It's a new step for the AISD. This is the very first second-story elementary school in Arlington. That's applause. That's a good thing. As you take the tour, you'll hear about, and from other speakers, some of the innovative things we put into this. I have to thank all of our construction managers, our architects, and our internal staff for all the hard work you did on this. It shows in the excellence that you built. Congratulations. On behalf of the board, we do a lot of work. One of the great things and privileges we get to do is naming schools after members that have served in our community. I have a special place for James and Barbara. I was a 10th grader right when James became principal at Arlington High School. I was his first. I was his first class that graduated and had him only as our principal the entire time. And luckily, he stayed on as principal after my class left. Mr. Adams couldn't have been a better role model. It's amazing what he's done, not only for Arlington High, but the entire Arlington community, and every student that's gone through. And through those years, I got to know Barbara. And Barbara is one of the best teachers I've ever seen, behind my mom, dad, and my wife. So I have to say that, especially my wife, Barbara, sorry. These two representatives couldn't be any better of representatives to have a school named after them. More importantly, we knew when we were naming James and Barbara how much they were going to be involved. So we automatically knew we had 2 free employees that we weren't going to have to pay. What we didn't know was we had 2 free construction managers the entire time. So the guys at Buford Thompson, thank you for being nice to James and Barbara, and thank you for giving them hard hats, and thank you for allowing them to actually install the tile, which I think they did. But honestly, you couldn't have 2 better people. It's an honor to open James and Barbara Adams Elementary School. It's an honor to see this name, and it's an honor to see this school excel. And Ms. Rhodes, no pressure, but you have one of the best teachers and one of the best principals. They're going to be looking over your shoulder every day. So no pressure. You're going to do a great job. And with that, one of the best things, while it's nice getting to name elementary schools, one of the best things we as a board get to do is hire a superintendent. And I think I speak on behalf of my entire board and the entire community if we couldn't have a better superintendent right now to guide us. So with that, it is my distinct honor to thank you for being here today, but also, more importantly, introduce and welcome our superintendent, Dr. Marcelo Cavazos. One thing I forgot to introduce, and I'll still say at the start of my speech, we didn't recognize a former board member. I see my two colleagues. We got Mr. Ash and Mr. O'Donnell and Mr. Rhodes, but we missed Mr. Dan Dipert. Dan, would you please stand? Is he still here? Dan was here earlier, so I want to thank Dan Dipert and Linda for being here. So with that, thank you, Dan Dipert.
Thank you, Bowie, and thank you for joining us this morning on a Saturday morning, a day and a half before school starts. And I can tell you that if you want to come back on Monday, you're welcome. We'll have hundreds of kids here looking for the place to go, the room and things like that. I'm just kidding. You don't have to come back on Monday. We have more than enough staff. But thank you for your engagement. Thank you for coming and helping us celebrate the opening of our East Arlington Elementary School, Adams Elementary. I'll tell you that this is the first domino in a comprehensive plan to relieve overcrowding in East Arlington. Next year we'll be opening classroom additions at 3 sites, at Rankin, Knox, and Blanton. 10 classrooms at each one of those sites. The following year we'll be opening a new school in East Arlington, out by Crouch Elementary, and then the following year another elementary. All in an effort to relieve overcrowding. We know that it's been an issue in East Arlington, and I want to publicly thank the board for their commitment as we started our strategic plan and are implementing year 1 and completing year 1, going into year 2. Our board has taken very decisive actions, and this is one of them, is to address East Arlington overcrowding, because we know that the conditions where students learn is important for their success. And ultimately, that's what we're here for. And so thank you to the board. I'd like you to give them a round of applause for taking the step and relieving East Arlington overcrowding. I'd like to take just a moment to recognize the staff that you don't see here, the staff that dedicated hours and hours and hours to making sure this facility was prepared and ready to go for this ceremony and certainly for the kids on Monday. So the custodial staff, the cafeteria staff, the secretarial staff, and et cetera, that worked hours and hours, including central office staff, that came to support the school to make sure it was ready for students on Monday. And so with that, I would like to publicly congratulate James and Barbara Adams for this wonderful facility and the namesake for our newest elementary. And I'll tell you that it took us a little bit to find a principal for this school. And I remember in the summer, I guess it was June or July, yeah, somewhere on there, where James came into central office. And I had a line of people waiting to see me, and we had appointments and all that, and Jamie Sullins, I think, I was meeting with her. Well, James came in. He's retired, he can do those kind of things. So he just marched right into my office and said, "Are you gonna ever hire a principal?" And I said, "Yes, James, and if we don't, you'll be the principal." And so James said, "Okay, go find one fast." So we did. We found Leslie Rhodes, and that's the standard. Is we took our time, but we made sure we found the individual that we feel has the exceptional skills to lead a school. And so I'll tell you that James and Barbara Adams are special to me, and certainly to the AISD family. They've dedicated many, many years of service to Arlington Independent School District. And I'll tell you that from their perspective, and I'll speak more, I think, specifically about James, because I knew James a lot closer because he was a principal, and I worked with him directly. And James and I share something very important, and that is that our focus is the student. Every single day, that's the ultimate focus, is the student. And James had that perspective. So when James was a principal, and kind of get out of the lanes a little bit, okay? It was for the students, every single time. And the students appreciated his efforts. And Barbara, the teaching that you've done and the lives that you've affected is amazing. And the both of you, as part of AISD, students, families, the community, and I'll say the nation, is better because of your impact on our kids. And so let's thank James and Barbara Adams. And I'll tell you that we have some special guests across this cafeteria that joined us, but we didn't recognize former Mayor Richard Green. So Richard Green and his wife Sylvia. Richard, there's actually a former Richard Green scholar here. Gary, would you stand? Where are you, Gary? Gary Guatanolo. So, welcome. So, a lot of people came to support James and Barbara Adams. And I'll tell you that the beneficiaries of this school are the students. And so their learning environment here, we have collaborative spaces for them. We have outdoor learning spaces for them. Have a beautiful facility that houses comfortably the students that will be coming in here on Monday. And I can tell you that this helps accelerate their dreams and aspirations and ultimately helps us as a community, a state, and a nation. So thank you for joining us today. And at this time, I'll ask Mr. Hogg to come up for a special presentation.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees and the AISD, we'd like to present James and Barbara Adams' official opening of Adams Elementary School.
At this time, we're going to have a presentation of a resolution by State Representative Chris Turner.
Thank you, Mrs. Rhodes and President Hogg and Superintendent Cavazos and distinguished guests. It's great to be with you today as we dedicate this beautiful building as the James and Barbara Adams Elementary School. And I want to just congratulate Arlington ISD for not only constructing this beautiful, state-of-the-art, cutting-edge, technological masterpiece that is this new elementary school, but also for really focusing in on East Arlington. And as Dr. Cavazos said, this is the first domino to fall. But this is so important for this community that is seeing such incredible population growth, and it's a great day for East Arlington. So, you know, as we look around this beautiful building, it's tempting to just celebrate the building itself, and we should. But a school is so much more than just bricks and mortar and technology, and this one I know will be no exception. The school will be a gateway to success and new opportunities for hundreds and eventually thousands of our youngest citizens. And this school will be a place where dreams are born and dreams are nurtured. It's exciting to think about the kids who will come through those doors on Monday morning for the first time and all those that will follow them in the years ahead. And when those students sit down in their classrooms on Monday, who knows what their futures may hold? There will be future teachers, physicians, nurses, engineers, military leaders, and CEOs in this building. Who knows, there may even be a future president. Whatever the future holds for these students, though, that future will be shaped and molded right here in this school. And that's why the role of teachers and staff is so vitally important, and it's why it's so appropriate that this building is named after two outstanding educators. So to the teachers who are here, in the audience and on stage, I salute you for the work that you do in this building and around this school district, where you have a profound impact on the students that you teach, and in so doing, you have a profound impact on future generations. Much more so than the rest of us, I might add, and I always try to keep that in perspective. You know, if we went around this crowd today and asked who was your state representative when you were in the 4th grade, I guarantee you, nobody would be able to answer that, including me. But I guarantee you that virtually everybody here could tell you who their teacher was in the 4th grade. And I know I certainly can. Her name was Mrs. Wolf, and even though it's been 30 years plus, I remember her well and the impact she had on my life. And that's the kind of special, unique impact an educator has on a child's life, and it means so much to them and to their future. So speaking of teachers, amazing teachers in the work, it's fitting that we salute the lifetime of work of not just one, but 2 Arlington educators, James and Barbara Adams. And I'd like to present this resolution from the Texas House of Representatives. It's not too terribly long, so I'll read it. It says, whereas the Arlington Independent School District Board of Trustees has named a new elementary school in honor of longtime educators James and Barbara Adams. And whereas Mr. and Mrs. Adams have an impressive record of service with AISD. James Adams was employed by the district as a teacher, counselor, and administrator before being named Arlington High School principal, a post he held for many years. And Barbara Adams was a respected and dedicated 6th grade language arts teacher at Hill Elementary. And whereas Mr. and Mrs. Adams retired after 38 years devoted to Arlington students, today the couple's 2 daughters, Melissa Nicholson and Jennifer Webb, carry on their proud AISD tradition and are both elementary school teachers in the district. And whereas the work of James and Barbara Adams made a positive difference in the community they call home, and the school that bears their name will ensure that their contributions will be remembered and honored by future generations. Now, therefore be it resolved that the House of Representatives of the 83rd Texas Legislature hereby commemorate the naming of James and Barbara Adams Elementary School in Arlington and commend these notable Texans for their exemplary careers in education. And be it further resolved that an official copy of this resolution be prepared for Mr. and Mrs. Adams, an expression of high regard by the Texas House of Representatives, signed by the Speaker of the House, Joe Strauss. So congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Adams.
At this time, we're going to give family and friends an opportunity to speak about James and Barbara. Without a doubt, I think we all have something to say about them. We had a company, GM Financial, called and they said, we want to do a donation drive. And I said, okay, great. And then the supplies came in, and we had cards from people saying, they taught us. He was my principal. So without a doubt, many families and friends could have spoken about them. And we're going to hear from 3 today. First, we have Dr. Mary Ann Jordan, who is the education professor at Baylor University.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to be here today, my pleasure and my honor. And if you have noticed up here on stage, I've tried to get up here a couple of times before now. So I do have some thoughts to share with you. The first 20 years of James and Barbara's lives, they had different names for those of us who knew them back then. James was Jimmy, and Barbara was Jeannie. Barbara's full name is Barbara Jean Adams. So if I slip and I talk about Jeannie and Jimmy, please know that I'm talking about Barbara and James. After that first 20 years, they in fact moved here to Arlington, and for the next couple of 20-year periods of time, they've been James and Barbara. So I wanted to make that clear in case you're wondering who I'm talking about as I talk. Jeannie, or Barbara, and I lived in Eastland when we were young kids. We were on the cradle roll together at church, and we became best friends when we were 2 years old. So we have maintained that friendship throughout our lives, and it is genuinely one of the things that I'm most grateful for in my life. During our young life, we did a lot of things to prepare for where we would end up. My brother had a wonderful comic book collection. These little Lulu comic books really intrigued me. because I could not read the words, but I knew something fun was happening because little Lulu was such a fun girl. So we used to look at comic books and tried to make out the words. And then we entered first grade together after several years, and we studied the Dick and Jane books then too. Some of you may recognize them. Those were old standbys. But when we were trying to decipher comic books and before we got into first grade, we played at school. We played together every day. We did papers. We made up lessons for each other. We worked so very hard, and when it was about time for the school day to be over, we would pack up all of our materials in our little satchels and walk the 2 blocks to the elementary school and then walk home with the big kids so we could pretend we were getting out of school that day. So we have been attempting to be good school people, good students, and lifelong learners for a very long time. The people that would not be surprised at all if they were here today that this event is in fact taking place would be our mothers. Modell, Jeannie's mother, Bill, my mother, it was a nickname, and Catherine, Jim's mother. They always expected good things of us. They would not be at all surprised that a school was being named for James and Barbara. They would say, of course, because they did always want the very best for us, and they wanted us to be honorable people. Jimmy entered the duo of Jeannie and I when Jeannie's family moved to Midland, and James and Barbara were in high school together at Robert E. Lee High School. Barbara's always been a very beautiful, very gregarious person, and it was not unusual for guys to call her or ask her out on dates, but she didn't really like talking on the phone that much until James started calling. And he would call her, and I would think, oh, good, after a very long conversation, she's going to get off the phone now, and she'll talk to me. This was when I was out there visiting her. And he would call back in 3 minutes, and they would have another long conversation, and he would call back again. So he was very persistent, and he recognized a good thing when he saw it, and he talked to her. The thing is, she kept answering all those times too, so she was pretty well smitten with him also. After a period of time after they had been dating, one of Jeannie's good friends from Midland asked her after summer vacation, so who are you dating now? And Jeannie responded, I'm dating Jimmy Adams. And the girl said, the Jimmy Adams? Jim was in fact a very big man on campus. He played basketball. He ran with a group that was a great group of guys. So he was and still is in fact the Jimmy Adams. Barbara retired from teaching in 6th grade at Hill Elementary, and James, of course, retired from Arlington High School after serving other positions in Arlington. Both of them are people-oriented. They're good listeners. They have a sense of fun and adventure. They're very discerning. They supported those Arlington High School students who, some of them were former students of Barbara's at the elementary school. They went to all kinds of student events all over the world, to New York, to Italy, to Midland, back to Midland, to Austin, and even to cheerleader competition in Stephenville. One of the greatest gifts that I have received by being a friend to the two of them is that they are encouragers. They always think you can do it. They always think you can get it done. They always think things are going to improve. And if you break that word encourager apart, what you get is encourage. That's what they do. They put courage in you when you have conversation with them, whenever you are one of their students, whenever you are one of the people on their staff. They put courage in you. Their family, Jennifer and Gary and Melissa and all of the grandchildren, have a great relationship. They all live here in Arlington and get to see each other very often. You may not know, or perhaps you do know, that James's name from his grandchildren is Baga, and Barbara's name from the grandchildren is? I'm hearing Lovey? Oh, Grandma Lovey. Okay. Hannah named them whenever she was a little girl, and it's interesting. One day they overheard Hannah calling them Baga, calling James Baga, and a woman stepped in and said, "Do you know what that means?" And they didn't. To them, it was grandmother. And the woman told them that the African language interpretation of Baga is slave. And that's true, isn't it? But he is a steadfast, benevolent, kind, strong, and adoring slave to his grandchildren. Barbara's affectionate name of Lovey is perfect too, isn't it? Because she is so lovable and so loving to those around her, especially the grandchildren. It's also perfect that this school be named for both of them. James and Barbara Adams are together. They're a team. They're a partnership. They've been close friends to close to half a century, or would it be more? No. Okay. Long ago, whenever she succumbed to his attention, it was the beginning of a great relationship. She succumbed to his sweet words, his truth, his sense of adventure, and his charm, which he still has. The school mascot for this school is the Aviators. There's a quote I'd like for you to remember. The quote is, "Everyone is a wing or a weight." W-E-I-G-H-T. Everyone is a wink or a weight. So I say to those of you at Adams Elementary in Arlington, ISD, Arlington, Texas, soar to success. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to hear from Brack Bledsoe. Brack is also a retired Arlington ISD teacher after 39 years of service to students.
Good morning. Mrs. Rhodes asked me this morning how many years I'd been teaching. The truth of the matter is I only taught 34 years. However, I worked for the school district for 39 years. You would have thought I'd have known better, but I was teaching driver's education. That, in a nutshell, has to begin creating clearly a clear picture as to why James and I were such close friends. If you can figure it out, let me know. I'd appreciate that. I must begin with James Adams calling me a couple of weeks ago and ask if I might say something on his behalf for today's dedication. I have to say that I'm honored just to be doing that kind of thing. James and I taught together at Dora Nichols Junior High back in the old days. We had a great deal of wonderful years at that old school. We both still see and are in touch with our students from Nichols. This man's affinity to remember ex-students' names still impresses me to this day. No, it doesn't. It makes me sick. You ever pay for gas and you get up and have to do the zip code 76? You get the zip code wrong? Yeah, okay. That's where I'm heading now. While James was teaching at Nichols, he was always respected and admired by his students and peers. Throughout the years, we became close friends, and we became, and hopefully still are, often sharing family dinners, playing games, visiting the zoo in Dallas. My wife threw that one in. And even taking a memorable canoe trip, which I am forbidden to speak of. In fact, the entire time I'm giving this, I hear a voice in the back of my head going, no, you can't say that one, dear. No, no. One summer, I remember borrowing their tent for a camping trip to go to Colorado, and I loaned him my car to drive down to Austin when he had car trouble. Now, clearly that was simpler times, clearly simpler on my part. I got a tent. He got a Firebird. You know, who knew? But you see why the school's going to be named? Okay, anyway. James has served this school district for 39 years as teacher, counselor, junior high vice principal, high school principal at Nichols, Sam Houston, Young, Martin, and Arlington High School. You'd think they'd finally let him settle someplace, and clearly he did at Arlington High School, and settle he did amazingly. If you fast forward just a few handful of quick decades, James was principal of Arlington High School, and I was teaching at Shackelford. James and Barbara came by my house one evening, and I was in my garage, probably repairing my old Firebird. James asked me to come to join him at Arlington High School so I could finish my years of teaching at his school. The truth is, I was honored. His reputation as a principal was already well known, and I knew it would be great to be back working in the same school with him. It was a decision that I can say today was a very, very good one. James Adams has what all great educators have, and it's love of the job. Now, I know that may sound too simple, but I firmly do believe it must exist in anyone who today says he or she wants to teach. As an educator, James Adams has always been adaptable, amusing, calm, and I can go on. I can run all the way down through the adjectives. I can assure you I've got them all the way down here to X, Y, and Z. But as a principal, James Adams retained all these and many, many more. The term leadership has certainly been used up here today, and it most definitely applies. He displayed leadership, which reflected his having never forgotten his years as a teacher. James Adams brought a sense of, and this is the one I like the most, he always brought this idea, but I'm here for all of you, to Arlington High School, which time and again I heard from students and teachers. An often heard description of Arlington High School from parents when I was there was, this is a warm and fuzzy place. The students as a whole were proud to be there. Having met Leslie Rhodes, principal of this school, I feel certain that James and Barbara Adams Elementary is in excellent hands. I told her the other day that I loved her. Now that can't be logical sounding to you because I'd only known her for 15 minutes, if that long, so I'm sure she was taken aback by that. What I meant immediately was I can see it, folks. This lady loves what she's doing, and you guys are going to love her. The name of this school being dedicated today will carry the name of an educator, husband, father, grandfather, and my friend, James Adams. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Nguyen. Lynn is also the visual arts coordinator for the district and played a major part in this dedication ceremony.
Good morning. It is with a great honor that I'm here to speak on behalf of James and Barbara Adams. As an artist, I'd like to paint a picture of the Adams. But as we know, no canvas is big enough to capture the heart, dedication, commitment, and passion that James and Barbara exudes. I was fortunate and blessed to have Mr. Adams hire me as an art teacher 18 years ago. As a principal, he always provided a culture of mutual respect and truly had a genuine care for his staff. I can remember sitting at the front office for my interview, nervous as can be, but Mr. Adams immediately put me at ease with his caring nature and his father-like demeanor. Mr. Adams, thank you for mentoring me and being an example of a true servant leader. But no story can be told without Barbara Adams. Upon meeting Barbara, you are always greeted with an infectious smile that one will always remember. Her passion and zest for life is quite evident in how she lives her life. Whether it's reading a book, going to the theater, or trying new restaurants, she takes advantage of every opportunity to learn something new. The Adams are a couple who truly epitomize living life to its fullest. Now back to my painting. Every painting is composed of a foreground, a middle ground, and a background with some kind of color palette. The palette for James and Barbara would consist of green and gold for Hill and Young, orange and white for Thornton, scarlet and gold for Johns, red, white, and blue for Sam Houston, red, black, and silver for Martin, green and white for Nichols and Arlington High, and now blue and orange for Adams Elementary. In the foreground of the painting, I would paint the Adams family, no pun intended. This would include their daughters, son-in-law, and grandchildren, whom they truly cherish and love. In the middle ground would be a picture of AISD and all the thousands of children and educators they have impacted. And in the background would be a silhouette of the city of Arlington. As we all know, the Adams are a legend and well loved and revered by many, thus completing this masterpiece. So it is fitting today that we're here to honor James and Barbara Adams as the namesakes of Adams Elementary. James and Barbara, I love you. Congratulations.
We will now have the portrait presentation by the daughters of James and Barbara Adams, Jennifer Webb and Melissa Nicholson.
Hello. We were both just discussing that we probably should have written down something to say. That might make this go smoother. But my family can attest that last night until probably 10:30, I was writing lesson plans. So I didn't have time to prepare anything. But I want to say about my parents and the impact that they've had on me, that my dad, well, as a family, when I was younger, we ate dinner together every night, and it was very important that we, well, there were no cell phones or anything like that, but we sat down as a family of four and talked about our days, which, because they were both educators and we were both students, consisted largely of education, almost entirely of education. And I think what I take away with that as from my childhood is in my classroom and in my dealings with teachers and other faculty is that you've always got to put the students first. And I often find myself thinking, WWJD, what would James do? What would he do? And I'll call him and I'll say, I'll be in a meeting and I'll say, just a second, I need to text my dad. Dad, what is the UIL rule on that? Or a child wants to be in my class, but he's not on my roll. And in fact, that child now is on my roll because sometimes the rules need to be bent where students are concerned. My mother gave me lots of one-liners that my students love to hear, but she always taught me, and I bring to my classroom, you leave everything at the door, you come in with a smile, you teach until you want to fall down on the floor, and then you go home, love your family, and get ready to do it all over again. And hopefully that's what I do every day to honor them. I'm going to go and let Jennifer talk.
Welcome. Thank you for being here today. It's an overwhelming honor for Melissa and for me to be here and to see all of the faces from 40 years being able to recognize and just say out loud and publicly how much our parents mean to you individually. And so it is our honor today to present a portrait that will hang at Adams Elementary. And Paul Knudsen was the photographer, and it's a beautiful portrait. And as I'm sure Ms. Rhodes has found, and Mr. Nguyen have found the perfect spot to hang it, it's special for us to be able to present it. And while it's just my mom and dad in the picture, when it hangs up, it's just hard not to think of all of the connections that it represents. Every single family member who is here today, I see when I look at this picture, the thousands of students that have been impacted by my mom and dad, the faculty members and the administrators, school board members that they have worked with throughout the years. And it means so much to us. We hang a picture not really just of the two of them, it's of every connection that they've ever made, and it is just such a happy day for us to be able to recognize that. And it's unbelievable when I look up there, I see all of those Arlington High graduates throwing their hats after graduation, or I see the Hill Elementary 6th graders doing chem dims in their classroom, or I think of a office aide at Sam Houston High School who just, it's just undeniable that when you are in contact with James and Barbara, it's very memorable, and they make you feel special, and they make you feel like you can do anything. So thank you, and we're very excited.
On behalf of the faculty and staff here at James and Barbara Adams and the projected 800 students that will walk in this building on Monday, I can't wait to place the picture in the main office. If you walk, as you tour the building, you notice in the main office there's a brown tile wall there, and it will be placed there so everyone who walks through the building can know truly who those people are. And as the many people have said, I thought it was just me as far as being loved. The moment you're with them, you just feel as if they're part of your family. Mom, do know I'm in good hands. You're in Arkansas, but I'm in good hands. I felt immediate connection to them, so without a doubt, we'll do well. We'll do well. Thank you. With that said, now we need to hear from James and Barbara Adams.
Thank you, Rosie. This has just been perfect. I love it. Thank you. You have to be careful or we'll adopt you. James and I want to thank all of you for this incredible honor. We know that some of you wrote letters and had recommendations, and so we are grateful to the school board and the AISD administration for this incredible honor. We thank you for valuing the children and building them this most beautiful and up-to-date school building I've ever seen. We want to thank Principal Leslie Rhodes and every single person on the staff for making us feel like rock stars. When we say, and I'm not very modest, so I often say, we are James and Barbara Adams. I love it when their eyes kind of go, oh. They've made us feel like rock stars and have welcomed us every time we've come, and we come often. And thanks to all of you for being here today. It means the world to us to see our families, our friends, our co-workers, and our former students and their families. We appreciate that you are here today. We especially want to thank our children and grandchildren for their love and support. Jennifer and Gary Webb, you've met Jennifer, and this is Gary Webb, and their daughters, Hannah and Sydney. Gary teaches at Lamar. Melissa Nicholson and Rob Croson, I would like for you to meet him. You've met Melissa. Their children are Katie, and I think Katie is playing soccer this morning, and Peyton, would you stand up? And Maddie Kate, and Sarah, and Beckham is around, and around, and around. In the last few weeks, I have heard several people say, I am blessed. And it is so true. James and I are here today because of the many blessings that we have received in our lives, and we know that. First, we were both blessed with immediate and extended families that loved us and valued us, that took us to church and prayed for us and encouraged us in school. Our parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles would be so amazed and so proud to see this day. My Uncle James Myers is here today. He came home from World War II, earned his college education, and became a teacher. Would you stand up, Uncle James? Thank you. Okay, I'll repeat that. He'll be 87 soon, and when James and I got married, we had over 40 aunts and uncles, and that's the last man standing. He is our patriarch. He was, his senior year in high school, around December or January, we said, that's enough education, son, we need you. And so he was one of those that was taken out at a very young age and sent to serve, and we are grateful for that. As a matter of fact, one of the blessings that we are grateful for every day is to that greatest generation that James is a part of, for the blessings of living in this country and enjoying the freedoms to realize our dreams. You probably know that we were both simple people from ordinary families, and this is a good country to be able to have this school named after us. It's quite an honor. We have our brothers and sisters and their families here today. Would you mind standing up? I have a brother and a sister, and James has a brother and sister and their spouses. Just stand up and wave so people can recognize that you are here. Thank you. We have more. We have cousins and nieces and nephews. If you are a member of the family, would you please stand and just be recognized? Even again, if you've already stood, just stand up. We are so proud of and love our families so much. We are grateful for your support. We have also been blessed with great friends. And I want to ask you to stand, because that would be everybody in this room today. You are all our great friends. We have some friends here from childhood, some from high school that we were glad to see, some from our college years, and some from our neighborhood. And thank you for the memories and all the good times. One blessing that we received was the opportunity to go to good schools when we were growing up in Midland, Texas. The city was booming and new schools were being built. The schools hired excellent teachers, and that has made all the difference in the world. We're hoping that Adams Elementary will make that difference in some lives. We have been changed for good since coming to Arlington in 1970. When we accepted jobs and moved here, the main thing, maybe even the only thing we knew about Arlington, Texas, was that it was home to Six Flags. So it was bound to be a good place to move to. The AISD has become such an important part of our lives. Our coworkers have become our friends and our companions. They have taught us so much. For 38 years, we talked and laughed and cried and shared lunches and road trips and sorrows and joys, and they are our friends. Thank you. Each of you touched our lives and made us who we are today. The parents and community in Arlington have been so supportive. Thank you for sharing your most precious treasures with us. And finally, our students have always had a special place in our hearts. From 1970 at Nichols and Thornton, through Johns and Sam Houston, Hill, Young, Martin, and Arlington High, until 2013 at Adams Elementary, the children, the young people that come to our schools are very dear to us. Students, we loved you then, and we love you now, and you will always be in our hearts.
I don't have much to add to what she had to say. I look out here and my life flashes before my eyes because I see people from Nichols and everywhere I've been. It's amazing. I see my name on a building and I just shake my head. I had a lot of good people help me do my job. At Arlington High, I had 3 secretaries, Dolores Smith and Helen Isom and Terry Bjorklund, and they're still taking care of me. Terry met me at the door over here and said, "Sir, is your phone off?" They let me keep my head above the water. It was wonderful. Since I retired, I've done a lot of reading, and one of the books I read is called Elizabeth and Hazel. It's about the integration of Little Rock High School in 1957, and Elizabeth Eckford was one of the girls that was part of the integration, and they built some statues to what they call the Little Rock Nine, the kids that enrolled there, and they put the statues on the state capitol grounds. And at the dedication, Elizabeth looked at her statue and she said, "You know, you really shouldn't dedicate anything to people who are alive because they still have time to mess up." And listening to all these people, I kind of feel like I'm at my own funeral. We won't have to have one. That's taken care of. I'm gone. Get out of here. And they did ask us to prepare a slideshow. They wanted some pictures and music, and my wife is very good at that. If you enjoyed that, we've got 79 albums chronologically listed our lives in picture, and we even have slides. And some movies. So come over to the house, you can see more. My daddy was the youngest of 9 kids, and he was born in 1917, and he was a free spirit, I guess I could say. If he saw the name Adams on a school building, I'm not sure he would have thought that was going to happen. Now, he might have thought they might name the principal's office Adams, because I think he spent some time there. But it makes me proud. I know how proud that he and my mother would be to see their name on a building. It's just unbelievable. I'd like to recognize just 2 people. If I started naming people here who are important to me, I couldn't do it, but I'd like to recognize a man who was a junior. Barbara said they built new schools in Midland. I went to a new elementary school, a new junior high, and a new high school. And they hired very good teachers. Midland at that time was the highest paying district in the state. And so they were able to pick and choose who the teachers were. And one of those teachers was a history teacher, and he was one of those that played in the faculty basketball game against the 9th graders, and he was involved. He can tell you today, if he sees you, who you were and what class you were in and what he taught you. In fact, he corrected Barbara. She said he was her American history teacher, and he said, "No, I taught you world history." But Mr. Don Stacy is here, and we appreciate his being here. Stand up, Mr. Stacy. He went on to be personnel director in Katy, I think. I always miss it, but one of those schools down by Houston. And he was really, honestly, a role model for me that I didn't even know he was my role model. I just was influenced by him. And I'd like to recognize and thank Joe Miller. Stand up, Joe. Joe was the construction manager here, and he welcomed us, and like Barbara said, every time we came over, he acted like he was glad to see us. He took the time to show us around. Now, after a couple of times, he did start, all of a sudden, phone started ringing. He, oh, I got to go. But it was so much fun to watch this building go up, and it was thanks to Joe. We really appreciate it. I worked for 5 principals during my career, and from each of them I learned, didn't even know I was learning it, what I call a leadership of service. Each one of them, and I'm going to tell one quick story. I told Doug Schaus was the principal at Martin when I went over there, and he started me on the road to leadership after, well, actually it's not true, but he reinforced it because Billy Bob Burdett was my principal at Young, and if I'm anything, I'm a reflection of Billy Bob Burdett. But at Martin, it hit me one day because a storm hit, an ice storm. And you don't have many ice storms, you know. And every car on the parking lot was covered with ice. And I believe it was an in-service day, so luckily the kids weren't there. But about 2:30, Dr. Schaus came and said, come on, let's go. And he got the other assistant principal, Mike Ward. And we went outside. Where are we going out? It's cold out there. We scraped off the windshields of every teacher so they could see to go home. And it dawned on me, this man cares about the teachers. That's why we're here. And every principal I had taught me that we're not the important one. We're here to serve. We're here to make sure that those teachers can do their job. And if they need anything, you get it for them. And sometimes, Dr. Cavazos, you have to bend the rules a little bit to get that done. Sometimes you have to go to the front of the line. They taught me that if you do what's right and you focus on teachers and the teachers focus on kids, then you won't have any regrets. Someone once said, find something that you love as your profession and you'll never work another day. And I can tell you that's very true with us. It was fun. It was fun all the time. And as a principal, most of the people I saw weren't happy. And I always liked the challenge of taking an unhappy person and making them happy. And so that's what was fun to me. And it's kind of twisted, kind of warped. But, you know, the madder they got, the calmer I got. And it was kind of fun, you know. I had great colleagues. Somebody asked me, a kid asked me one time, I was walking in the Arlington High cafeteria, and this girl said, are you the principal? And I said, yes. She said, what do you do besides walk around? And I said, well, I walk around and talk to people. That's what I do. I really can't do anything. I have no talent, except one. I'm a very keen judge of character, and I can hire people to do the job. And I put them in their job, and they do it, and it's so nice. But that's all I did was find the right people and put them in the right job. I was especially proud of the coup that I stole Brack from Shackelford. He took a speech program that was having some rough times, and he turned it into a state performing debate team, and he was an unbelievable teacher. We do feel blessed and overwhelmed. And I look around here and I do see Sam Houston off his aides, and I see Debbie Llewellyn, who was in the very first class I taught. And we run into her and her husband all the time. We eat at the same restaurants. I see people from Sam Houston, and it's overwhelming. Thank you for being here today to share this with us, and we'll try not to mess up.
Before we close, I do want to thank family and friends of James and Barbara Adams who sent donations. Without a doubt, our students and faculty will benefit from those. I also want to thank Board Member Pena for the school supplies that you brought today, so thank you for that. I also have to thank two people to other people. When I walked through this door, of course, I had the support of my area superintendent, Dr. Hallbrick, but there were two people, one being Debbie Williams, who said, Ms. Rhodes, I have this. Don't worry. You hire the right people. You get things in place. She counted books. She moved books. She sat down with me, gave me direction. She moved desks and tables and just gave support. She was on speed dial just the other day. I said, Debbie, I got more boxes. I got more boxes. I don't know where they go. And she said, I'm coming. I'm coming with my grandbaby. I said, no, don't come with your grandbaby. You stay at home and we'll get this squared away. So, Debbie, I want to publicly thank you for helping us open this school. Without a doubt, there'll still be boxes in the hallways and on the stage, but I do thank you for your support. Without a doubt, I owe you a lot. I also want to thank, I also want to thank Jeff White and his staff. Jeff White, he is the part of the custodial staff. He's custodial operations manager. Every time we saw something, we needed something, Jeff, I called him. He's also on speed dial. I called him. They fixed it. So without a doubt, Mr. White, I thank you and your staff. Opening a school, it's about kids. When I talked with the staff, we had a great time getting to know each other, but I left them with one thing: be passionate about the kids. I said, everything else we'll learn, we'll get better together, but I need for you to love the kids and be passionate about kids. I told them about the video when you accepted the namesake, the school, at the board meeting. And I mentioned a couple of words that I heard James and Barbara say, such as dedicated, committed, loving kids. And without a doubt, we want to continue that legacy here at James and Barbara Adams Elementary School. Matter of fact, not only want, we will continue that legacy here. Our kids need it, our community needs it. And I told them, I want James and Barbara Adams to be the hub for the community. I want people to know that we're going to be there for them so we can all be there for the kids. And do know we're going to need your support. The teachers, they're on board, spending long hours. I had 2 last night with babies. I said, no, go home. Go home. Don't bring the babies here. Spend time with your family. But we have some hard shoes to fill, but we're going to do it. With their support, come at any time. The school is truly open. They've been on, it was, what, a couple of Saturdays ago, 100-degree weather. Teachers came with their kids and family. We walked the entire community. We split up in 4 zones. James and Barbara, they joined us. We walked from house to house telling them about back to school. They were a part of that. Our teachers were a part of that and their families. Matter of fact, I have to tell this story and then I'll sit down. 2 stories, perhaps. Barbara came to school one day. She said, I met some family members and they invited me to their house to get a pedicure. I said, oh, that's nice. And a couple of days later, she said, I went. I said, you did? And so when they were walking the community, as they were walking the community, they met families. Oh, so you're the family that was here getting a pedicure. And so the whole community knew about James and Barbara when we were walking the community. And just on Thursday, we had sneak a peek, and we were outside just visiting with family and students, and they were talking to a family, and they were just talking, everybody talking, excited about the school, and Barbara says, we're James and Barbara. She said, who? She said, we're James and Barbara Adams. The school is named for us. She said, no, I thought you were ordinary people. And Barbara said, well, we are. And so without a doubt, they are part of this school. And so please know that we thank you for your support. We thank you for coming. The last thing we have is a tour of the campus. As Dr. Cavazos mentioned, that this is a state-of-the-art school. Without a doubt, as you walk the halls, you will notice lights coming on automatically. As you leave after a few minutes, you will notice lights going off. You will also notice collaboration areas. Each wing or each grade level has a collaboration area with modular furniture that can be moved, a dry erase wall where kids can go out and work on projects together and talk together. And let's not miss or skip the technology. Technology in this school will be a focus as we make sure that we're innovative, that students have a rigorous curriculum, and that it's relevant. We have iPads and smart boards and iPad minis and laptops in each and every classroom. We also have 2 science labs that you will get to tour today, and you will notice that they are equipped to do hands-on science. The classrooms, the office areas, the bathrooms, all built with a purpose and kids in mind. So please go throughout the halls. You will notice each classroom, there's a classroom on the left that it's open, that the teachers have said, come in and look at us as we prepare for the first day. So please feel free to go throughout the building and tour and see what the kids will be exposed to on Monday, August the 26th. Thank you for coming. Any other comments? As I told the staff that yes, we will have millions of people walk through these doors to see the building. But it's our goal that when they leave, they are talking about what we're doing for kids. Without a doubt today, look at the building, but come back and see what we're doing for the kids in our community. Thank you.